Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Mining Now. We are filming at CIM 23 in Montreal, and it's great to have Nick Ponto back on the show with IBM. Welcome back, Nick.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited for the show.
So, Nick, this is your second time. So, last time you were on with Jared in Vancouver. Could you just do a quick recap of some of the main points you discussed in Vancouver?
I think actually when we were talking in Vancouver, it was really trying to get IBM's name out there and moving on from, we'll say, our parents or grandparents, IBM,
Right.
mainframes, looking at laptop computers, and actually really understanding that IBM Consulting is about AI, hybrid cloud solutions, and how we can actually work with the business and not just working on the back office solution. So really it's trying to get our name out there in terms of our capabilities. We have significant work that we do implementing ERP systems, EAM systems, things of that nature.
Okay.
But really focusing on the business. That's really where I want to say, like on the consulting side,
Yeah.
we're building a strong team on the consulting side to actually work with the business to drive and deliver on their business outcomes.
So when you're saying on the consulting, does that mean you're basically working directly with like a mine operator, and then they're kind of developing what they need?
Yeah, exactly. So, if you've got a business challenge, I will just say on the integrated operations, sorry, I'm going to
Okay.
talk about that. That's my
Yeah.
favorite area to talk about.
Yeah, no worries.
So they're going to have a vision or an understanding of what they're trying to deliver, understanding those outcomes. And then so what we do as an organization is come in on the consulting side and actually understand the requirements of the solution, what the end user ultimately wants to see, and then going through the discovery phase, actually do a solution design with them, model out the processes that the solution will require, see what the integrations are with the various other systems that they currently have embedded, and how that interoperability can all fit together, and then ultimately bring on a team with the various IBM service lines
Yeah.
to deliver on that implementation.
So when you say like bring those solutions and all the different, like you see it around here at the show, there's all these different technologies. So do you have to basically bring those all into the IBM system that you build so it can monitor? Is it data? Like, are you bringing in all that data as well?
So there's a few different ways that I think, when we look at this. I think very simply we like to work looking at a capability model or a component business model and break the overall business into its individual elements.
Okay.
And then understanding what solutions actually provide those capabilities.
Okay.
And by doing that, you can actually see where the connections are. You can avoid building redundant solutions that are actually overlapping. Really, the ultimate goal is having that single source of truth, single source of decision making that is audible and repeatable, that the entire team can see the transparency of why decisions are being made. And I think with regards to the data, there's many different ways in which the data can be aggregated, pulled together. I think within IBM, obviously our data strategy and our implementation teams work very hard to ensure that high quality data, but ultimately it can be disparate data being pulled together, or it can be consolidated to a single location. So there's multiple options there.
Okay. Probably go another place to get into then. So since we last talked, for your current areas of focus, you mentioned one of them, and I already forgot the name.
Integrated operations.
Integrated operations, yes. What has been changing like this last year since you've been on? Like, especially with, it seems like AI is just exploding onto like the whole front. Is that changing a lot as well?
So what I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, AI machine learning models have been very consistent. That's been the flavor. That's what companies are looking towards. I think we're maybe a couple of years ago, they were very point solution based. They're
Okay.
focused on delivering an outcome for a very narrow area of the business. I think
Yep.
really where companies are starting to see value is actually how they can basically have a network of solutions, how they can actually optimize their entire business. Because when you build these point solutions, you can eventually cannibalize value, right? You realize value here, then you've got another solution based on a different priority, and they don't match.
Okay.
So really the big idea is how you can actually integrate all of those solutions to actually drive a singular outcome, whether it's, maximizing your production, your recovery, low cost, what your reagents, things of that nature. So really it's about how you actually integrate all of those machine learning and AI solutions together.
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour brought to you by Savannah Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide, and Corporate Traveler Canada, helping companies travel the globe simpler, faster, and easier. We are heading to events across North America, Africa, and Australia, and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. The metals and mining industry bears a significant responsibility for meeting the dual challenge of growing demand for resources and rising standards of living from an increasing global population, while also addressing the sustainability goals of the future. Aspen Technology is here to partner with industry leaders and help them achieve those objectives with solutions in areas of advanced process controls and asset performance management that utilize artificial intelligence and machine learning to optimize their mining operations for both profitability and environmental responsibility. With Aspen Tech, you'll not only reduce downtime and improve safety, but also minimize waste, lower emissions, and improve operational efficiencies. Their expert team is always available to provide support and guidance, ensuring that you reach your operational and sustainability goals. Aspen Tech, empowering the metals and mining industry to meet the dual challenge. Learn more at aspentech.com. SafeSite has developed a suite of innovative technologies focused on step change improvements that impacts vertical mining, shaft measurement, underground mapping and survey, mine rescue, and emergency response underground. SafeSite solutions introduce new possibilities in approach and efficiency while keeping every site safer. SafeSite solutions deliver valuable data that can quickly be turned into actionable decision data that allows effective and safe operation. Digital guide alignment will reduce shaft maintenance costs, underground mapping drone technology that removes shadows for 100% accurate reconciliation, and mine rescue drones that extend the reach and range of responders on surface and underground. Visit safesitexp.com for more info.
Actually, you mentioned like about the reagents and the production. So is there certain projects that you've been working on in the last year as well that stand out, like where you've put together these solutions as well, especially in like the maintenance side?
So yeah, actually, I would say that the growth within our maintenance capabilities at IBM in the consulting space is actually probably one of the things to be most proud of. We started out a couple years ago working with a client and maintenance team, working on their strategy, where we looked at their goals, their OKRs, worked with them actually to do some structural organization. And that really started to grow. We brought on a few key new IBMers with strong maintenance background, where they actually were delivering solutions, looking at supply chain maintenance integration, process mapping, going through and actually developing governance and assurance protocols. And honestly, it's been exciting to see, when you think IBM, you don't think maintenance planning, strategy, things of that
Yeah.
nature. We've actually done a lot of work with some of our Middle East clients on
Okay.
turnaround planning, how building systems. So there's kind of two pieces to it, right? There's the initial system design
Yeah.
and the process mapping.
Right.
That piece, historically you wouldn't come to like an IBM to do that work, but now we have resources in that space.
Could you clarify on the project mapping? Is that like kind of taking everything that's going to use like computing from point A to B in that whole process?
Yes, in the big picture, yes, and then
Okay.
it can be broken down into smaller processes.
Oh, okay.
I'll do something as simple as creating a purchase order for maintenance software, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a process, but as you're noting, everything ultimately needs to be integrated and fit together.
Okay.
And that's actually kind of the excitement, is actually having the capability to have that big picture and understand. And I think really the ability to grow that team
Mm-hmm.
and increase our exposure. It's actually been very exciting in the past year.
So in most operations, especially in mining, there's a lot of movement happening all
Hmm.
over. So you go back to like grandparents IBM, are you building solutions now for like the whole mine as well? Like is the whole operation being basically channeled back to your systems?
So I would say from IBM perspective, we work as a system integrator, system implementer. We look at see how we can tie the various systems together. The end-to-end design, there's not many companies really that have gotten to that level, that they have that full end-to-end overall global design.
Okay.
So I won't I'm not ambitious enough to say, yes, we've done that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that is the goal, is to actually tie all of this
Oh,
together.
okay.
And like we see at the conference here, I mean, there's all kinds of vendors with great solutions, and it's
Yeah.
how we can actually bring those together and how we have
Right.
the insights to understand and breaking it down. Sorry, going back to capability models, how we build that solution and how we allow them to talk to each other. And that's where IBM can really bring its value.
When you're developing that solution, what's the process like to get something like this implemented? It seems like it would take quite a while, like from the initial start
Hmm.
to like putting it into the operation. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's the how to eat an elephant story. So, and I've met with several clients and they said, this is audacious. They agree, this plan sounds great, but they're like, we don't know where to start. Like, this is like a 5 or 10 year implementation and build. And the answer is yeah.
Really?
And you will continue to build and adapt and change. But I think really it's like, if you want to grow food, you've got to plant a seed. So you need to start somewhere. Some companies will stand up an organization that will, a digital program to build AI and try and bring all of this stuff together. That can be capital or operating intensive at the front end to stand it up, but that'll allow those companies to get further ahead. Other companies, maybe they are a little more cost conscious up front and they're looking, okay, well, once some of their applications are expired or sunsetted, okay, what new things can they bring on to actually build to that future? But when it comes down to it, it's all about having a good strategy,
Okay.
having that strategy in place and ruthlessly executing against that strategy. Also seen many times when, leadership and folks change in the company, the strategy and culture changes. And if you have continuous change, you're not going to be successful in any digital implementation. And obviously corporately, it's going to be a challenge as well. So it's that ruthless execution on a consistent strategy is, I think, how you can realize that value.
When you're discussing that with the mining, you see obviously a big change happening with like the energy efficiency that these mining operations are trying to do. What role what role do you think renewable energy is going to play in the mining, and does that impact what IBM is doing as well?
So renewables definitely are going to play a big part in mining going forward. I think the vast majority of mining companies, have commitments to net zero by 2050 or
Yeah.
other similar goals. I think jurisdictions like here in Quebec or BC really have huge advantages for mining companies. The ability to use hydropower really, differentiates them from a lot of our global competitors outside of Canada. I think really when it comes down to it, uh, when you look at companies, how are they going to get to net zero 2050? I would say 50% they know they've got a plan. We're going to use hydro. We're going to look at electrification. 25% they probably have an idea. They've got a team working on it. The technology is just on the precipice. Maybe the other 25%, they probably don't know exactly what that looks like.
Right.
But I think renewables will be a key part of that. And I think really it's going to be how the mining companies work with the OEMs and their development of the various technologies. Obviously, there's some great, advancements in terms of battery electric
Mm-hmm.
vehicles for large haul trucks. But again, when you look at the capital intensity of, bringing in a battery fleet, it needs to be, cost effective. You have to be able to meet your production targets, and it is going to change actually the overall landscape. So whether you're surface mining, I think is probably a little further behind on electrification. You can do things like trolley assist, but it's still not quite the same. Underground is really moving towards that electrification, which is great to see. And the other cool thing is we don't know what we don't know yet, right? There's other cool technologies that are
Yeah.
going to come in, and that's maybe that last 25% in terms of how we get there.
Right. And then I would imagine for IBM, you're building in these systems, so all that's being tracked now. For the companies that have the plan, they're trying to figure out and track all that data as well.
Yeah, we've got a few different solutions. We've got one product, Invisi, which is we can excuse me,
Yeah, no worries.
track carbon emissions, having dashboards, and we can actually report on the overall scope 1, 2, 3 emissions across the company's value chain. So on the reporting side, there's that piece, but then there's also, we've got our environmental intelligence solutions where we actually can identify where different emissions, whether it's methane or gas leaks, things of that nature.
Yeah.
We can actually look and see how we can optimize the system that, at this area and this plant here, normally you're producing, 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide a year. You're actually going over that. So then we can flag that and see what parts of the system actually are causing that variation. So I think really there's one piece on the reporting, but then it's how you can provide analytics to actually advise and course correct on that. And that's some of the work that we're focusing on right now.
That makes sense. And even when you said about like there's a lot of change and turnover happening, you end up having like probably a mix up of what people's goals are. So if it's longer term with the same team, it probably makes it a lot easier to build out, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. It's nice to have a sponsor that sticks with the project for the entire time. Continuous change is a little challenging.
At OIM Consulting, they drive profitability by building your supervisory capability. They equip the people who carry your culture, engage your teams, and ensure that daily targets are achieved. If you want measurable operational results, visit oimconsulting.com. Analyze, improve, sustain. Cleario custom creates 3D and immersive experiences, presentations, and apps. Use this amazing technology to promote projects or products, communicate plans and outcomes to stakeholders, train your employees and customers, hold virtual meetings around the world with your project's data. For infrastructure, environmental, and industrial projects, Cleario's expertise converts your spatial data into holographic 3D scenes, or full applications that tell your story in a compelling and intuitive way. It's time to join the metaverse for the real world. Learn more at cleario.studio. Introducing the SolarSet Fold. The new foldable frame solar system brings power to your residential and commercial property and can be shipped worldwide. Like all SolarSet products, the SolarSet Fold comes turnkey, pre-assembled, and is easily transported and installed. Learn more about SolarSet Fold and their full line of amazing solar systems at solarset.com.
So when in this last year too, with the new projects that have come online for IBM, specifically here in Canada, are they then just at the starting phase of like 5 to 10 year projects with IBM then as well?
I would say we've got various stages of life cycle with our client base. Some clients that we've worked with for decades, other clients maybe in the last 5 years, and it really depends on what types of solutions they're looking for. I mean, I mentioned earlier we do, SAP or Oracle implementation. So these large ERP systems, right? They can be 2, 3, 4 year implementations. And then there's an opportunity to see, sustaining services beyond that where IBM can help support with our global resources.
Just for anybody who doesn't know, and me, the ERP stands for
Enterprise Resource Planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just
to clarify that.
Yeah. No worries. So there's longer engagements in that respect. We also will do kind of the one-off, we'll call it point solutions, where someone needs a dashboard built, or someone wants to look at optimize the IBM optimization engines, or Watson Assistant. They might want to have a demo, and that's actually
Watson's still front and center probably for a lot of clients.
Yeah, it was at the Masters. I'm sure if any golfers out there, that always the Watson name brand, I think actually in the AI is still quite strong, and that kind of ties to what's coming next on the technology, right? I'm sure we've all kind of heard of Chat GPT and some of the other generative AI large language model solutions that are out there, and actually that's something within IBM that we've had for last 5-10 years. Like we have that tooling, and we develop it fit for purpose for companies, for business, right? Like we actually are ensuring the higher level quality of this open source systems. The accuracy of that is if you know the answer already and you look it up, it may or may not be on point, but the Watson Assistant and the generative AI solutions within IBM are very business focused. And we have been deploying them to various clients around the world. And I know actually we're taking one client down to our Yorktown Heights office at research to really show what we can do in that space. So it's actually pretty exciting to see, and again, quite topical. Everyone's doing it, but IBM's been doing it for quite a while.
Right. I think I know it too from chess as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Chess and Go, I think, are a few of the cool ones, and obviously Jeopardy was kind of, I think, what kicked it off.
Right. Well, we'll get back into mining. You mentioned as well the one product, Invisi. Invisi. Then also, is there a lot with the other tech companies and like those providers? Is there partnerships developing then as well that you are then implementing with them for mining also?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting industry in the sense that our competitors are also our close alliances.
You hear that all the time in this.
All the
time.
Yeah, so one project will work with one vendor, and next project we'll work with another one. We do work with Aviva, Aspen Tech. You see
Yep.
them here.
They'll be on later.
Yeah. So we work with them. Actually, reached out to Aviva about an opportunity this past week. So I'm meeting with a few folks from Aviva here at the conference.
Right.
And to me, it's all about finding what the customer is looking for, right? Providing the right tool for the customer. And that's where we need to have a good understanding of what our business partners out there actually have for products. IBM, our ability to, as a system integrator, and build the interoperable solutions to tie the various assets together. That's
Yep.
actually where we can really, show our muscle. So it's having good relationships with the other service providers and the folks here. That's actually where we can really bring value to clients, as opposed to trying to just sell the same single product over and over again. We can, make it a little more interesting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it seems like, especially on like with the energy efficiency people are trying to go for, but also still trying to increase production, especially on like the battery minerals and everything. Because it's funny when you mention like they're bringing in the batteries, they also have to go get more mines going to do that as well.
Yeah.
Just to get those resources out. So mining seems like it's going to be just so much potential in the decades.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any way around it. If if the current path is net zero 2050 electrification,
Yeah.
these are kind of the key guidances, I think, for a lot of folks. I mean, the amount of copper produced has to double, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years. The amount of lithium mined is probably 6-7 fold, needs to be increased production. And that's on the current guidance. What I find actually really interesting is, well, what's the next thing that comes out? What if electrification isn't the answer? Is it small nuclear? Like, what does the
Right.
future actually look like? At any rate, mining will still be a critical part of that value chain.
Yes.
And, at some point, I think, there's this idealistic or utopia where, we can have this circular economy and, reuse, reduce, recycle, kind of the old way of talking about that. We might get there at some point, but I think we have to be honest that it's a bit of a journey, and we're not there yet. But it's right now we've got a plan, and as a global society, so we're going in the right direction.
That's probably something IBM is always looking at too, like what's new, what's coming out, the new technology as well, just to basically be watching for where those next opportunities are.
Yeah, and actually, that's one of the things that our research team really focuses on is, they do a global technology outlook and, what's coming down the pipeline, what's coming next. And actually, our report last year was actually on generative AI, and it literally
Of course.
checked the box that literally a year later has exploded. So through our research, we're, on the leading edge, and obviously our competitors are doing similar things, but, we're fortunate we've got a really strong research team, and we're able to actually, be at the leading edge on some of these new technologies and actually bring things to market and deliver to our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. The just a little bit besides obviously coming on mining now, are you doing any other are you doing anything else here at CIM that you want to touch on as well?
Yeah, sure. I can touch on it. So, actually, I'm doing a talk tomorrow on integrated operations.
Okay.
On looking at how you connect the value chain, and basically just looking at a different perspective to mine planning and operations.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've worked on with clients over the last number of years, and 20 plus years as kind of a mining engineer focused on planning. It's something that I am quite familiar with. And
Right.
actually, one of my colleagues, Alex Harvey, also is presenting a solution exploration with Watson tomorrow afternoon. And
Oh, interesting.
and really that's looking at, how you aggregate all of your geological data, how you can search that data better, and then make improved decisions in terms of your drill targeting.
Yep.
So it's actually a tool that they've deployed with a number of clients in the past couple of years. And Alex will be sharing that one, so it should be a good listen for those who can attend.
You also mentioned you're going to be meeting with other partners as well. Is there anything that before I let you go, is there anything that you that's important to cover as well on the mining side that we haven't touched on that you that's just good for the mining community to hear as well?
I think that the biggest thing is just that, as miners, we are ambassadors for the industry, and that we actually tell and advise the general public of how important mining actually is. One of my coaches at IBM, about I guess it was 6 months ago or so,
Yeah.
I was speaking, talking about my background in mining, and she's like, mining. She's like, I thought we're done with mining. I didn't even know that we still mine stuff. She's like, I drive a hybrid vehicle, and yeah, like
Oh, really?
so there's an awareness
Mm-hmm.
in the general society of what value mining provides,
Yeah.
and it's also got the dusty face, light on the helmet. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think really showing how mining is moving towards sustainability and the initiatives and the investments that companies are making needs to be brought to the forefront. So I guess really the big ask is just to be good ambassadors for mining and have good conversations with folks, and let them understand and share your perspective.
Just as a follow-up to that, when did IBM really recognize the opportunity in mining and like kind of jump into that and start really working to provide these solutions?
So I think IBM within the back office, we'll say the old school mainframes
Yeah.
computers, but was always kind of in the mining space as well as on the ERP kind of system implementation. I would say in the last 10 to 15 years, we really started to grow momentum. And that primarily has been based on the capabilities in AI, machine learning, building these integrated operation solutions, working with our vendors like Aviva, where we can actually build remote operating centers for our client base. And I would say the last 10 to 15 years is really when we started to grow, but really now, honestly, is the exciting part for me, because technology is finally in a position that you can actually tie all of this together.
Right.
And that's actually what's really exciting, as opposed to having kind of this historical point solution approach.
With your background too in the mining engineering, it's probably like wild to see the changes as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. I actually was sitting on the plane out here yesterday, and actually the person sitting next to me was coming out to the conference as well, and we were talking about planning and scheduling. And I said, when I started my career, I had a Mylar sheet on the desk, and I was working in Excel. So it's came a long ways with auto schedulers and integrated solutions. So yeah, I've definitely seen the needle move a fair amount.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. It's great that you're able to join again. And yeah, obviously we'll have links to everything. So for anybody who's watching, wants to get hold of you, they'll know where to find you again.
Appreciate it. Awesome.
Okay, great. Thanks a
Ryan.
lot.
Take care.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Mining Now from CIM 23 in Montreal. We will see you on the next episode.